Hey guys, in this video, we are going to look at the next generation process viewer. Process viewer is one of the oldest components on the platform and was introduced more than 15 years ago. The next generation process viewer has been completely rewritten from scratch in React.js as a single page application, retaining all the features of the classic process viewer and also bringing in a host of new features. The primary benefits are faster performance, more responsiveness, and improved usability. In addition to this, we are also going to look at some of the minor changes which have been done to the modern work center. Let's look at these in action. So I'm in my work center right now, and I'm going to go to Inbox, Tasks. I'm going to bring up a process viewer over here. One of the first things you will notice is that the process viewer now can be rendered inline within the same tab, which is much more faster rendering experience. I can always pop it out in a new tab. I can click this icon and it opens it in a new tab, and I can work in a bigger screen if I want it. Now, if by default I wanted my users to use the open a new tab kind of an experience instead of the inline flyout window, what I can do is I can go to Work Center Settings. In the Settings module, Work Center, you'll find a setting over here, Open Process Viewer in New tab. If this is clicked, go ahead and click Save. And if I go back and click on Process Viewer now it starts opening in its own tab like previously. So you can always open it in its new tab by default, but the much better rendering experience might be the inline experience. Now, similarly, for each activity, whether it is human activity or system activity, on click of the activity, we used to have a pop-up window. Instead of that, now we have the flyout window, which is rendered on the side, which shows you the details in an accordion style. So if you see there is an overview tab, you can look at all the session information. And one of the things you will notice is for these tabs like session, participants, link, and attachment, there is a search feature implemented as well. An activity might have a lot of sessions, you can always search through it, or a lot of participants are available, you can always filter it based on the participant name and get to the right participant. Similarly, for links and attachment, a search option is available as well in case you have any links or attachments. Now, clicking anywhere outside this window will close the pop-up and bring you to the main window. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is the session details. So right now I'm on this activity. It's a test application. I'm going to just quickly open this form and click Submit. Now the process has moved forward and is sitting on the next human task. Now one thing you will notice is we have also brought in the change flow option right over here within the process viewer itself. This was one of the most requested feature that people with permission, can they change the flow of the business process without having to go to manage center. So we have brought this in this domain, but along with that, we also make sure that there is security which is implemented around it. What I mean by that is if you go to the settings module over here, we'll open it in a new tab, Work Center. And if you scroll down, there's a process viewer settings area where you can say allow change flow for, and this applies to the process viewer which is rendering within the work center. Within manage center, if you have permissions, you can go in and change flow of other applications as well, and you can limit the scope. You can say only allow app owners and administrators to use the change flow button on the process viewer, or you can say anyone with change flow permission can see the change flow button, or you can say none of them sees it, which would have been the default behavior in past. So you can now allow app owners and people in administrator role to change the flow right from process viewer in work center without having to go to manage center. So if I go back, open my process monitor, I can click on this change flow because I'm one of the administrators. I'll click on the currently executing activity. I'm going to roll it back and click apply. And as you can see now, the flow has been changed back to the previous activity. Now that means this activity would have two sessions. So if I drill down again and go to sessions, as you can see now, I can see two sessions of those activity, one which was previously completed and the current one which is in the assigned status. I'm going to go ahead and complete this one. And click submit. The process moves forward again, and currently I'm on this activity. And again, I'm going to see two sessions, one which was cancelled previously because of the rollback which I did, and one which is currently in the assigned status. So I can get the session information from this window itself. Similarly, in the participants section, I can see this one was session number 1, which was cancelled. This one is session number 2, which is currently in the assigned status. And as I mentioned, there is a search option. Now, the next change we want to look at is the navigation menu. Previously, it used to be at the top. Now it has been moved on the side. The slider over here is much more user friendly. So you can slide and zoom in and zoom out. From here, you can pan the process model in either direction. And if you have moved something and you wanted to go to the original position, you can always hit this reset button and it takes you back to the original position. Now, the next feature we are going to look at is activity timeline. So again, going back to the settings module over here, there's a new property which you will find, show activity time frame. I'm going to enable this. This is disabled by default. And we are going to go ahead and refresh this. Now what you can see is on each of these activities, it shows me the amount of time it took to complete a particular activity. For example, this was a human task which I completed in 34 seconds. So that's what it is showing me. Now in my case, I'm completing it pretty quickly, but it would show you minutes or days over here as well. So that's the time frame it took to complete the activity. Now similarly, there's an show activity tooltip. This will be enabled by default. If you enable or disable it and go and refresh it. For each activity, if you hover over it, if you have that property on, you can see the name, the status, start date and end date without having to drill down into the activity details itself. Now, the next feature we are going to look at is that, as I mentioned, this new module has been created as a single page application. However, we wanted to make sure it is backward compatible because in the emails which have already been sent out, you might be using the old process viewer URL. So a URL redirect has been provided. So the old process viewer URL used to be in the format of work/workcenter/process viewer.html. And in the new one, it is just process monitor. However, if you go in and type the previous URL, and click enter, it redirects you back to the new URL. So over the period of time, we are going to slowly deprecate the older style URL. In any of your new development, it is recommended to use the new URL format. Now, the last part I wanted to show you on the process viewer is you can always go ahead and cancel the process over here. So I'm going to go ahead and say cancel, which was a feature which already existed. However, the reason which is captured as part of this cancel process, if I go ahead and put it, the process has been canceled. If I refresh, now I can see that reason right over here at the top without having to go into any of the details. So those are some of the changes from a process viewer perspective. Now let's go back to the work center and let's look at some of the other miscellaneous changes which have been done on the work center. Now, if a task is in a new status, the link over here has been made clickable. So you can just click on the task name over here and it directly opens the form for you. Now, the other thing you will notice is similar to classic work center. If you have a task in new status and you click on ellipsis button over here, if you have allowed the user to complete the task without opening the task form, he can now see the take assignment and complete option. If you take the assignment of this task, that option gets converted to complete task. The other minor enhancement which has been done is now you can search based on the activity name as well over here. Now, when it comes to parent and child processes, if I go to processes over here, I have an application which has a parent process and a child process, and I've enabled both of them to be shown side by side in my work center. If I go over here, the settings I used is show subprocess. So that's why the subprocess is showing up over here. You'll see a context menu option. I can directly bring up the parent process right from here itself. Similarly, when I'm in parent process, if I click on this, I can always go to this child process. Also, as I mentioned, if I cancel a process and put the reason over here, and if I close this process monitor and I bring up the process details from here, I can see the cancellation reason shown on this flyout window in addition to the process viewer. So with this, we come to the end of this demo video. As you can see, few major enhancements have been done to the process viewer module as far as the usability is concerned. And I hope you really enjoy using those features. Thanks a lot for your time.